Good morning. We are here in WCEG.radio.com. You can watch us on a smart TV and watching us also and repeat our programs on WCEG.radio YouTube. We are the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group where we speak into life to the community. You can like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also WCEG, the radio, YouTube. Remember, the comments and topics of this program are not responsibility for WCEG. Buenos días. Mi nombre es Ramona y voy a estar por la próxima hora con ustedes en WCEG Network. Ustedes nos pueden dar like en Facebook, Twitter, Instagram y nos pueden seguir también en YouTube. Buenos días, Anthony.
Hola, buenos días, Ramona. ¿Sí me escuchas?
Sí. Good morning. So our guest today is Anthony Pacheco, and we have an interesting topic as always. Because we have been looking, our children and listening our friends and people around us in schools, in our job, about the stress that children are suffering and what people are living situations with their children. So Anthony, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
That's good. So Anthony, the first question I have to you is, can you tell us a little bit about your job, your activities in your job?
Yeah, so most of the work that I do is around the community, but it's really focused on civic engagement. So everything that I do is based around getting people more excited about the elections that are happening, more informed, and also being able to allow them to go out and vote.
Yeah, and I know you in some points of your job, you work a lot with young people, right? And can you tell us, or your experience with them, can you tell us how they work out the daily day working, or if you have listening from them, how stress is job for them or a school?
Yeah, I think young people, it's really important to get them to be able to participate in civic engagement. It's really important because they have something where they feel like their voice is heard, they feel like they can participate, and it's really important to get them to do that. 1 second.
Yeah. So and our topic is not only to talk about young people, but also talk about young adult people, because I know in everywhere, children start working maybe 13, 14, and they start the responsibility to provide, to help provide for the houses, but also to work in their studies. And we know that for some reason, I think many reasons, the evolution for technology and also the faster that life has been, changing, children are getting more into, I think, more pressure in life to get things, to fit into the society around other teenagers and young adults. So what do you think about it, Anthony?
Yeah, I think like what I've said, I really feel like kids need to have like some kind of, especially like young adults or kids, they need to have something to be able to do after school or participate in some kind of like program that's going to help them be active members in the community, become leaders, and to help shape like the future.
Yeah, I think also the pressure, some children, the pressure to see others do so much, and maybe they don't have opportunities, um, that make them to stress too. And how how do you think, Anthony, we can, maybe help, as working in the community, how we can help, or what we should do, or implement into the communities to help these young people to get integrated, and make less the pressure for them?
Yes, like as you can see right now, we're outside in the community. We're helping people, talking to voters about the election and stuff like that. But that's a really great question that you have. I think it's really important um, to be heard and be seen, especially if you're young. And I think one of the most important things to bring up around that is mental health. I think it's really important that people are aware about like their emotions, their feelings, what they're going through, and how to like ways to be able to cope through that, or ways to be able to, um, find like or channelize that type of energy or emotion into something good. So I'd say like um, in the community, probably uh, before the pandemic, we used to have a lot of base building meetings where we bring in people from the community and we get to talk about different topics. Sometimes sometimes the best way I think is to listen, to be able to listen to somebody and help them um, go through whatever they're going through, or just listen. Maybe you don't have the answer right then and there, but it's always good to be able to lend an ear to somebody.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, that is another, well, in our community, and I know in other communities, the barrier of that is that people is not accustomed to talk to others. People is like, we can say it's still a taboo that you cannot show your feelings. You cannot say you are sad. You cannot say you are struggling with something, and that is the big barrier, I think, for all of these young people that, um, feel that they don't fit, and they are not able to go out or do something different. And but also, the levels of stress and anxiety for children, I think it has been raising more with the pandemic. But, um, like, you are outside on the community, Anthony, what, do you know some resources for these teenagers, or some strategies they can use?
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of after school programs, and I can give you some of that information later. There's also different organizations. I know there's an organization in Norcross that helps with teen uh, self-esteem and stuff like that. Also, there's another organization called Ser Familia. I don't know if you've ever heard about that. That's related to like domestic violence issues around like the family, and I think it's also like a cultural thing. um, Sometimes, especially with like young Latino men, it's really hard for us to um, express our emotions because we come from that culture of like machismo, or um, you're supposed to be strong. You're not supposed to show your emotions, your feelings, and that's something that gets deeply ingrained um, into ourselves when we're like really young. But I think that should change, right? I think that's something that in my generation we're starting to feel like um, it shouldn't be that way. There should be an opportunity to voice the way that you're feeling, and also I think it's really important um, to like express that, no matter what age, if you're young or if you're older. It's really important to do that.
Yeah, that's true. And let me talk to you. Let me talk to you from the other side, the side for mom. Um, because I have been recently, I have been listening a lot of moms that are struggling with their youngest teenagers on middle school, high school, that they start with you know, I don't want to go outside. I prefer to be in my room. I don't want to go to, my practice or school. And then they don't know what to do. Mothers, sometimes we don't know what to do. Sometimes many of the times, because women here, we work a lot. And if not work, we stay with other children in home, with house. So um, what the question is how we can handle that. And I think I'm gonna tell you by my experience, but when you see, it's my opinion, and it's something that I implement in myself, but it has been helping me so much. So when you see that, you have to put attention. You have to put close attention on that. I know that culturally, we just say, oh, he's tired, oh, he is bored, but it's not. Right now, I think we have to put attention that if he is not motivated to continue doing things that he used to do, or he just want to stay in home, in his room, um, you have immediately go and talk to your child. Go and talk to him and discuss what is happening and how he feel like that. Then you have to be creative, and you have to put him, um, motivated him or her yourself, because you are the closest person they have as a parent, but it requires a lot of work, because sometimes young people is not easy. Young people is still growing, and still they trying to put, their ideas. I want to do this and I want to do this, but you have to be very constant in communicating with them. Um, and also, looking activities like Anthony say, activities that they can go outside and be productive, do something, because I'm sure there are so much outside to do for them, that I can motivate it and also can guide them on the future. You never know if, one day of volunteering in some institution can become a career for them. So, and Anthony, talking about these experiences as a mom, but I also, as brother, or as, like people in your family or friends, have you seen this situation, and what you think, or what suggestions you have for mothers and parents in general?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for that question. It's really hard. I'm not a parent yet, but I do see that, especially with kids that are younger than me, a lot of kids these days, I feel like they're a lot more informed. They know a lot of things more than when I, was growing up. And that's because of like technology. Kids are on social media, and that also causes a lot of, stress, anxiety. They're seeing things on the news. So a lot more information is being thrown at, kids. And maybe it's also can be like a distraction for them. Like they're not being as active as they used to going outside, or maybe they have, social anxiety when they're talking to other kids their age. Maybe they're more introverted. So I'd say like technology plays like an important role in that. And um, I think if I were to be a parent, I would want to help to limit that, access to to my kid or my younger siblings or stuff like that. help them see things outside of, social media, technology, phone usage. And I do see that where parents are kind of like allowing their kids 2, 3, 4 years old to use their cell phone or their cellular devices kind of like as a pacifier to help calm the kid. But I think there's better ways to do that. That way that they don't have to like rely on, social media. So I think it's like practicing all of those things um, that don't have to do with technology. Yeah. So
Mhm.
that would probably be my suggestion to that.
Yeah, that's true. And it's very good, suggestion there because right now we can see babies. Babies are in front of the tablet or the TV, and it is scary. It's scary because it's a lack of opportunity for them to appreciate um, life, really, because technology, television, tablet, computer is like fiction reality. You are reflecting lives on fiction, and children, young people want to imitate that, want to become like the people they are looking on computer or television. And it's a way to lose the track for them in their lives, I feel. Um, and yeah, it's very scary. I know technology is very necessary. I know technology helping so much in so many things, but Anthony is right. We need to limit it. It's impossible not to allow children, um, to not use technology because it's necessary for the school, for jobs, everything. But we have to control that since they are little. And we have to, like, like I say, always go back in our times that we spend so much time outside cleaning, outside playing, outside with other children. Right now, the streets are empty. I know security out is also a part of that, but in the yards, in the yards of a friends, we still, it's good place for children to be there and play and live life and happen life more productive and more happy than just stay in the room with computer or tablet or telephone. Um, you know, So back on the time, we're gonna remember. So Anthony, can you telling us how a little bit how you remember when you were was little before all this technology, and what activities you used to do?
Yeah, I remember we used to play outside, like play. I used to play a lot of sports, and also we used to well, back then we didn't have a phone, so kids were able to communicate directly that way instead of like sending a text message or um, using like a cellular device. We didn't have that growing up. And then kids these days, well, it's just it's a lot different than what it was. Um, but yeah, but I think it's really important. I think with a new age with technology, with things being more accessible to kids, I think there should be like a balance where it's like, yes, you can use the phone, yes, you can communicate this way, but kids should also be able to speak directly to other kids or to adults, without having to fear or have like some form of like social anxiety. I feel like sometimes it's harder to do that when you're focused on like social media or you're focused on things and information and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's important to have like a balance between both of them. Because what you said, technology is super important. It's something that has contributed a lot to our daily lives, and that we'll continue to use, and it keeps evolving. But at the same time, kids shouldn't have to not, you know, stay at home depressed or anxious all the time. I think they should find other ways to be able to connect, to do other things. And the work that we do get a lot of like high school students that want to participate because they're seeing everything that's happening in the political world on the news, on Twitter, on social media, but they don't have like a way to, what should we do? And I think the work that we're doing is helping them to, well, let's go knock on voters' doors, or let's try to get somebody registered to vote at this event and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, you are like involved online, you are informed on social media and on Twitter, but you're also making a difference in your community by helping somebody get registered to vote, by informing them about the elections that are happening. So I think that's really important to have a balance between those two things, real life and also like using social media technology as a tool that can help enhance um, that type of like work or experience.
Yeah, and I think that is important. Real life, we have to show our children and talk to them. I know it's, you know, sometimes some words I gave to people may be little hard, or people can take hard, or you know, because but it's true. I say we as parents must to take time to communicate with them, talk to them every day, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You have to have that communication because you are the only person who gonna guide them, who gonna clarify them, and that is what your children's gonna have from you. They're gonna have from you a clear communication on how they gonna guide their life, because it's very easy to, it's very easy to send children to the psychology. It's very, easy to send them to the counselor on the school. But the reality is that the counselor or the psychologist, he is not living with the child. You as parent are living with your child. You know him since he wake up and he come back and he, staying home. So you must to do that. I know we are so busy and we have so much responsibilities, but our children need us, and we as parents are the guidance for them. Um, and one suggestion also is to, you know, encourage them to volunteer. Here are around Atlanta and everywhere, there are many organizations, many institutions. For example, we have the food banks. We had food banks that they always are requesting volunteers. There are shelters, and you can, the question you can make to yourself is what I want to do, who I want to help. So then when you answer those questions, I think you find a little guide on where you need to go. So I think that is something that we all have to reflection, especially right now where we are looking, a rise of a lot young people stranded around the world because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to react to the problems. And now only, I feel I always have been thinking that um, the solution is not to send the children when they have problems to the psychology. It's necessary. I recommend, if you cannot control it, you have to take that option. But you have to try first. Maybe your child just need communication. But if not, the doors always, you have to maintain your door open, and you have to bring a professional to that. So Anthony, can you tell me a little bit, well, one question. Have you suffered for stress or anxiety in some point?
Yes, of course. I think everybody has some level or form of anxiety and stress. And I think it's normal. It's part of like our daily lives. We have, obligations like work. Of course, like you're a parent, you have kids. You worry about like their future and like how they are, and our jobs and all of these things that we have to juggle. So of course, everybody has some form of anxiety, some form of stress in our daily lives. And I think it's important to do a lot of like or find ways that you can help relieve some of that stress. For me, I like to be outside. I like to be around nature, or go hiking or do something that is not related to what I'm doing to kind of like help unplug, or unwind from like the daily lives of like stress and anxiety. So I would say like it's pretty normal that we all have some of that, but I think it's super important to find ways to be able to relieve it as well, and to not let it like sit there, um, in your mind. Yeah.
That's good, yes. So, and what activity is the most helpful for you? You mentioned some, but what are the activity that help you more?
Yeah, I think hiking, nature, being outside, it helps to kind of keep myself more grounded, helps me like reset, um, helps me focus or think about other things, worry less. And it's also been like proven that nature helps, with things like anxiety and stress. So that's how I do. I know other people do other things like meditating, um, or maybe it could be something like, self-care. Like maybe they want to go, and do like a massage. Sometimes it could be like your body that's also like, under a lot of stress as well. But yeah, I would say like just being outside, being around nature, that helps me a lot.
That's good. And that is a very, very good advice because many people once you enter and you sit down in front of the computer, it's so hard to stand up and go outside. And for children too, they got home and they just want to rest and watch TV. But that is great. So Anthony, and have you talked about the stress and these, anxiety problems with other people around? And how you feel talking about this with other people?
Yeah, I feel like, it's important to, voice, how you're feeling, how your day went, like check in on yourself with other people. And I think I feel very comfortable doing that, um, talking about like things that are happening to myself. Because sometimes even that helps, relieve some of your stress or anxiety. Sometimes just sitting down with somebody, talking to them about what's happening to you. And of course, maybe they might not have the answers, but at least you were able to, um, share that with somebody, if you feel comfortable, of course. And I think I've gotten to a point where it's like I have something going on, or I can always like talk to a friend that's close to me and tell them, about what happened, and you know, being able to also get his ideas or his advice on certain things. So yeah, I think communicating like what you've mentioned before, that's really important. And I think that's important between like parents and kids, for the parents to always be involved in their kids' activities and stuff like that, checking on them, checking to see like who their friends are, who are they hanging out with, um, doing daily little things, like what you said, even if it's just 5 minutes, talking to their son or daughter about their day. How did it go? Did it go good or did it go bad? How do you feel? So I think those are really important things, and it allows people to have more, ways of communicating easier, and also understanding too. Like kids, teenagers, they're in their own, mindset, or they think maybe different, and some parents might get mad very quick. But I think it's always important to, try to understand them, try to see their point of view as well. And yeah, I think that helps to be able to allow them to have more confidence, allow them to have more, more trust with their parents to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very important, and it's true. We as parents are the first connection with our children. And it's very important because we have a big job being parents. And we have to connect with them even when, they come and they tell you some things that you don't like it and you never think you're gonna accept, but you have to deal with that. You have to be open mind, but intelligent. Because when a child come and tell you something, um, the worst thing you can do is to start screaming and getting mad. You have to stay calm and process what you have here, and just think about it a little bit, but continue the communication in that subject with your child, because if you get mad, you're gonna scare your child, and your child never gonna come back with you and talk to you. And that is the worst thing it can happen to you, because then your child gonna do their own things, and you're not gonna know. And when something happen, it's late. It's gonna be late because you don't listen. You didn't take the time to listen. You didn't take the time to help on that situation. And it's sadly, they gonna find someone outside who gonna be able to listen them and to advise them wrongly, because friends or other people around can say thousands of things, giving hundreds of advices, but it's not gonna be right. So we need to take the time to listen them. We need to take the time to advise them, and we have to open our minds, because at this point, I think parents who have, very limited mind of thinking, um, we have to throw that away, and we have to think that times have changing, things have changing, and we have to change, because if not, we're gonna left behind, and our children's gonna walk anyway. They have to follow their life. They have to do what they need to do to to grow, to live life. And it's when all the bad stuff come, they got in trouble, they got in gangs, they got in problems with the police, and um, so much things that happen when you don't listen. You have to be able to listen and build a good communication, and try to strengthen them, in their soul, but also in their life as a person. So, Anthony, um, around you, what has been your experience with young people? Talking about all of this. Um,
Yeah, I think my experience with like young, I feel like I'm still young, a young person, but of course there's kids that I know that are 14, 15, 16-year olds. And also I have cousins that are 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10, 12. So yeah, there's a great diversity around like age group, and you can definitely tell the difference between them. But I feel like kids these days are a lot smarter. They know things that they probably would know when they're like older. So I feel like kids are a lot more awake and more conscious about like how the world is. and things like that. So I feel like that could be good and that could be bad too. The good thing is that, you know, kids um, are not like, things aren't being like sugar coated for them. Maybe they are more mature because of that, or the other way around. Maybe kids are growing up too fast. Um, and again, I think it's just the way that things are changing. Everything's like a lot more fast paced, and in a way, I feel like the pandemic has helped to slow things down. Um, and I think that's true, especially with like younger generations, being able to look more inside and or in internally, and trying to maybe figure out things that need some kind of like internal work. And I'm talking about like emotions, feelings, mindset, thinking. So that's really important. I think that's kind of like my experience with like younger kids. I feel like they are aware of what's happening around the world. They are a lot more smarter, and they are probably even can be, depending on the kid. Uh, and I think it depends also on the parent too. The parent has the ability to educate their kid, um, to tell them, you know, how things are, the right way. And I think that's basically what I've been experiencing here.
Yeah, but that is good. And yes, you are very young. That's why we are I look your point of view, because I know your job allow you to be around many young people, but also a lot young adults. And I think, like you say, right now, children's born so smart. They already know. I remember my children is still, my children at 2 months, they still happen that they sleepy. Now my granddaughter, it was a month and she didn't sleep and she moves and she wanted to be just looking around. And generation has been changing, and it is important to see those changes, but we also change with them, in the way that we need to, we can say, capacitate our mind to guide them in the best way. Open our communication, because I remember on my time, when I was little, I didn't have any communication with my parents. My parents didn't talk to us for anything. They just ordered, go to clean the stove, go to your room, and, things like that. But they never sit down with us, and they never talk to us for anything. But now with my children's, I also have been thinking that it's very important to communicate, sit down with them most of the times. The the chores in home is secondary, but I have to sit down with them. I have to talk to them. I feel that that is the most important thing to do when you are a parent. But yes, it has been changing, and for that, it has been changing the life that um, they want to know more and more, and they picking up so much information for everywhere that in some point everything is trastorned, everything is twisted. So that is when the problem began, because you have to clarify all that. I know they are very smart. There are not children that are, we all are smart, but we need guidance. We need guidance to order our mind, our thoughts, clear the information, and it's our job. It's our job to do that. And to do that, we have to slow down a little bit. And you're right, Anthony. This pandemic bring us like a break in our life where everyone, children, adults, young adults, teenagers, has the opportunity to think about life. I think to think about what you are doing and to create. But also another side, I feel that this pandemic has bringing, to some people, like depression also for not be able to do things, not developing yourself completely. We can say that. Um, so, and Anthony, the next question is how you have been dealing with all this. I know it has been hard in some point, but how you been dealing with all of this? Or what are the ways you found, to keep developing yourself?
Yeah, I think especially hard with the pandemic and with our, our job and our role is to be out there with the community. And it's so hard to do, especially with, um, you know, the Delta variant and all of these, these updates from the CDC, and like the cases of COVID rising and stuff like that. So it definitely like forces us to think of other ways to be able to still reach out to the community. And we've been really successful at that. And I think even so, like, um, you can say like technology is really great because, there's families having like Zoom calls, stuff like this, where you're on the radio, um, but you're having like done through like a video conferencing, and it could be done throughout the world. So that's some of the things that we've been able to do is still having gatherings, still having things like phone banking, calling voters with a group of volunteers, and also sending messages through text. Um, so it's still there is a community. Maybe it's like a little bit different because it's all virtually. It's not, in person like we're used to. And I think that has been like a big change. And, also that also is hard when you're going back to like trying to find some kind of like normalcy, or when it's like, okay, now it's safe for you to go back. And, that gives me stress, or that gives me some anxiety when I'm back in person with a large group of people. And it's like, wow, I haven't seen so many people at one time um, in like a year and a half. So, but still, it's like that's part of like our process of trying to reintegrate ourselves back into our daily lives, into our normal lives. But yeah, I think it's more so like finding better ways, creativity to still be able to have like that connection with people. And that has been done mostly like virtually. So I'm glad that um, nobody is still like or people aren't like being separated completely, even though they can't see each other physically. So yeah.
Yeah, and that is interesting what you're saying about people don't have opportunity to see face to face. But, one thing that I have been looking, even you can see on the news, is that how close the parents have become in the situation, in being in schooling home. Parents have to learn a little bit to manage computers, and they, most of the, I can say most of the parents, because I listening for moms, and I have seen on the news, and for other friends, they have been there with their children's learning and trying to connect with the teacher. So that is another part that this pandemic bring, that it also forced the parents to get into the all this computer and technology learning together with the children. But still, I believe we still have a lot of things to do for young people, young adults people, because one thing that you told before is that mental illness. I think mental illness has been also developing so much with all the situations, the social pressure, the pandemic, the technology that force, for young people, adult people. I think technology forced you to get more pressure to grow professionally, personally, because so much people around that have opportunity to grow and to build more. Um, Put that pressure on you, put that pressure on your mind that, many of the times children, young people, adult young people thinking I'm in the middle of my 20s or my 15, and I see this person is 16 and they already have, house, cars and programs and all of that things. So that is a big pressure too. But you know, we have to deal with that. And talking about this, Anthony, how you deal with, because I know there is a pressure in your job looking, projects, big projects, and you working to doing similar projects. How you deal with this pressure?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say it's like pressure necessarily. I'd say it's more of like, finding like that passion for doing the work, even if it's something like very insignificant or small. Trying to find like purpose to the work that you're doing. So I'm always like keeping that in mind. And sometimes it can be like a lot of like pressure. And so I think it's important to also recognize like that you need help. And I think that's really hard sometimes for us to do that, especially when we come from like immigrant communities or communities of color where we don't know how to ask for help because we've always been, um, self-reliant, or we're the people that, the only people that we can help are ourselves. But that's not the case. I think in a work setting, it's important to be able to learn how to ask for help when you don't know or when you do need help. And I think that's something that I've learned in the work that I'm doing because we work with different types of communities. And it's also important to help delegate tasks too. It gives people an opportunity to do something new, to learn something new, and gives them the sense of like responsibility and to also become a leader themselves in their own community. So I think those two things is asking for help when you don't know or when you need it, and also helping to delegate tasks or helping to delegate things to other people. So it's definitely important to um, see that in ourselves in that work setting. That way, that can help you relieve some of that pressure, anxiety, that stress. Because sometimes we can be selfish and we want to do everything ourselves when maybe there's people that are willing to help us out. So yeah, I think that's the best way I would describe it in handling that type of like pressure when you feel overwhelmed. And it's important to keep those things in mind.
Yeah, that's true. And that is something very hard to do because many people wants to to finish everything because we believe we are the only person we can do good or we can do fine, But one other important thing that you say is that just appreciate the job you do and not looking around because that makes you more pressure. And that is, I think I think that happened to everyone, that we are, in some point, we are so focused on the job for others, but we are not focused on the job we are doing. And I think even like you say, even if it's few or even if you advance a little bit, you have just to appreciate and focus on you now and others. Because if you focus on others, then you're not gonna focus on you. You know, so yeah, that is very true. And I'm glad you here with us today, Anthony. Thank you so much for the information, and thank you for being with us. So now let me translate a little bit in Spanish for our community so they can also, know about what we're talking about. So, hoy estamos hablando sobre nuestros niños, el estrés en los niños, en las personas jóvenes adultas, la presión de la sociedad, la presión en los trabajos, la presión en la escuela, es grande y es real y es algo que los papás tenemos que enfocarnos y poner atención. Tratar de poner a nuestros niños en un ambiente más libre de tecnología, más libre ¿cómo decir esto? Más libre de presión social, más libre de prejuicios. Creo que nosotros como papás debemos enseñar a nuestros hijos a que ellos deben de vivir su vida feliz como ellos quieran, pero siempre viviendo dentro de la línea de lo que es lo correcto. Muchas veces nosotros estamos tan presionados por la sociedad de cómo viven otras personas, de lo que hacen otras personas, pero la realidad debería de ser de lo que nosotros hacemos, de lo que nuestros hijos quieren, de lo que nosotros como papás queremos ver en nuestros hijos. Y como siempre les digo, y eso creo que es una crítica contra mí, pero yo sé que en Estados Unidos nosotros estamos muy ocupados, tenemos mucha presión por financiera, presión social también, pero debemos de poner primero a nuestros hijos, porque aquí nuestros hijos solo nos tienen a nosotros. Entonces creo que eso es algo muy, muy importante que tenemos que tomar en cuenta. Anthony, ¿quisieras dar un mensaje para nuestra comunidad sobre este tema, por favor?
Sí, solo repetir lo mismo que tú, o afirmar todo lo que tú dijiste. Creo que es bien importante que los padres se involucren en la vida de sus hijos, en las cosas cotidianas, aunque sea 5 minutos al día, saber cómo les fue, si les fue bien, si les fue mal. Y eso abre más formas de comunicación entre un padre y un hijo. Y también, así como tú dijiste, es importante que, que seamos más libres de la tecnología, de las presiones sociales, de incluso de como hijos, dejar que seamos nosotros únicos, individuales, con nuestras ideas, pero que va conforme con lo que es correcto, porque también tenemos límites, también no todo lo sabemos, también hay cosas que tenemos que ir aprendiendo y pues un padre siempre quiere tener lo mejor para su hijo.
Sí, es verdad. Y miren, antes de irnos, quiero darles la línea de la prevención de suicidio. Es 800-273-8255. Ellos comunican en inglés y en español. Cualquier signo que ustedes vean en algún familiar, amigo, hijo, pueden llamar, y no solo es para suicidio, pueden preguntar por más recursos que ellos puedan tener para otras ayudas en situaciones de enfermedad mental. So the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 800-273-8255. And you can call them, and I'm sure they can have more resources, not only for this situation, but you can always request for more resources. They speak English and Spanish, so it is important to know this, because you never know. Maybe you can see a friend or a relative that's gonna need these resources. Anthony, before we go, do you have another association or organization that can help on this?
Yes, I would recommend Ser Familia, and I can give you that information later. I don't have it at the top of my head, but if people in the audience want to Google Ser Familia, that's spelled SERFAMILIA. Just Google that and you'll find more information about that organization, which I love. And they focus a lot on things like this, like families, how to make, better parents, better children, or better sons and daughters, and how to have like a more healthier family relationship. And it's also focused on things like domestic violence. So those are really important resources that we need to have for our communities. Yeah.
Sí, Anthony nos está diciendo de la organización Ser Familia. Pueden ponerla en Google y encontrar la información. Ellos tienen ayuda para familia, también violencia doméstica. Y recuerden, siempre es importante enfocarnos en nuestra familia. A final de cuentas, nuestros niños tienen que crecer, nosotros tenemos que dejarlos ir, pero tenemos, como padres, tenemos que dejarlos ir fuertes y seguros de ellos, que sean personas de bien en lo mejor posible. Nada en este mundo es perfecto, pero podemos trabajar para que sea bueno. Ok, muchas gracias, Anthony, por tu tiempo. Gracias por siempre estar ayudándonos y apoyar este programa. Te agradezco y pueden mirarnos, pueden volver a checar toda esta información en WCEG Network, en YouTube, en Facebook, en Twitter, Instagram, y para otros recursos pueden comunicarse con WCEG, recursos en la comunidad. Okay. Thank you so much, Anthony, for being with us. Always support our program. And if you need any other information, any other resources, you can contact WCEG Network in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can review all our programs and stay tuned for the next program, okay? Have a good holidays. They are coming soon, so be safe.
Thank you, Ramona. Gracias.
Hasta luego, Anthony. Gracias. Thank you.